The film is about a young man named Vitus who is a wonder at playing the piano and doing math when he's 6 years of age. Tests have demonstrated that he has an intelligence level of 180. Music. His English-conceived mother Helen needs her child to turn into a renowned musician, and she drives him very difficult to rehearse all the time. Father Leo is somewhat of a wizard himself. He has planned another kind of portable amplifier that is presented to lift up the monetary fortunes of his organization. Normally, given the nitty-gritty work of the project, he possesses little energy for his child. In addition to the fact that Vitus possesses a profoundly high-level melodic sense, yet his feeling of hearing itself is expanded nearly to terrible levels. This is demonstrated when one day he takes a stab at the touchy directional receivers in a headset created by his dad Leo, a portable hearing assistant innovator. One day, Mother Helen is called to Vitus' kindergarten where she's educated by the head instructor that her child is far in front of different children concerning studies. Given his astoundingly virtuoso psyche, Vitus finds it challenging to find a place with his schoolmates. The head instructor suggests Helen enlist Vitus in a life experience school rather than kindergarten. All at once Helen gets a call from her spouse Leo and discovers that he got elevated working because of his recently created innovation. Cordial hearing help celebrating enjoy. Helen guarantees her child Vitus that he doesn't need to go to kindergarten any longer, as they will currently have sufficient cash to enlist a confidential sitter for him. Tragically, this is terrible information for our young virtuoso. He is continually determined what to do by his folks, who are generally occupied at work. Even as a little fellow, he feels caught at his home, not having the option to play or carry on like a typical youngster. The as it were wish Vitus yearns to be satisfied is for him to resemble different children. That evening, his guardians leave him with another sitter named Isabel, who is a couple of years more established than him. Vitus needs to be let be, as he's currently bothered by the way that his guardians lack the capacity to deal with him. In any case, sweet-natured Isabel sits close by quietly as he peruses a sleep time story to himself. We discovered that the kid's just shelter is his unconventional granddad, the one individual whom he completely trusts and the one to focus on, who gives the youthful Vitus the opportunity, also, the space he should act naturally. Genuinely is his granddad, who unendingly putters around in his hardware store and still supports a long-lasting dream of turning into a pilot. In the following scene we see Vitus and his granddad getting prepared for a local party. It is his father's party to advance the recently send-off portable hearing assistant. The is as well hesitant to spruce up for the occasion, yet gives in when his granddad lifts up his soul for certain lively stunts at the party. One of Leo's partners is doubtful about the new portable amplifier, so the partner continually criticizes Leo's work, certainly saying that the item will before long go down the market anyway. Leo is hopeful, so he guarantees that the interest for the amplifier will soon support the call. He proceeds to uncertainty Vitus' piano abilities. He gets some complex verses sheet from the young men practice table and shouts that Vitus wouldn't have the option to play such a complex tune anyway. His uncertainty is cleared when Leo and Helen have their child play the piano and exhibit his extraordinary ability in spite of Vitus' defiance. In the following scene, the visitors, including the mean partner, watch our wonder play the piano as they feel overwhelmed. Later, one of the visitors suggests Helen perceive her child's ability and encourage his abilities. He takes note of that Vitus is a unique kid, so he really wants to go to a extraordinary school like a confidential music institute. In the meantime, our son is worn out on the obscure public encompassing him, hurries under the drape and stows away. From the group he then, at that point, puts on one of his dad's portable amplifiers, takes out his little optics and watches the visitors from his concealing spot. He can plainly hear and see what individuals are discussing at that point, taking exhortation from their visitors. Leo and Helen choose to select their child in a private music foundation. At first the establishment rejects the young man since he's as well youthful to get conceited. However, because of Vitas' outstanding piano abilities also as knowledge, the school's organization chooses to select our wonder. Naturally Vitas is upset about the choice. Sometime thereafter he will not emerge from his room as he believes that his old piano educator should proceed once more giving him illustrations. His temperament is inspired when he goes through some quality time with his granddad at the old man's hardware store. The teen chips away at some furniture. Vitas' granddad shares his fantasy about flying, or all the more explicitly being a pilot. One day they then make stopgap wings which Vitas wears and messes with his granddad. Moreover, shows him how to utilize a saw and cut wood. While Vitas is doing so, Helen unexpectedly shows up at the scene and runs toward her youngster. Worryingly she chastens Vitas for messing with risky instruments like the hatchet and inquires him to unfortunately never contacted the unfortunate kid. Obliges his mom. As days pass by, Vitas is abandoned with his sitter Isabel while his folks are occupied at work. Because of this he grows a nearby fellowship with a little kid who dreams of turning into a stone vocalist one day. Most nights they spend moving and singing around the house. Isabel with the mic, also Vitas at his piano practice table, sticking his number one tunes. One night when herons are laid, Isabel what's more, Vitas wind up drinking an entire jug of champagne, making them drop. At the point when Leo and Helen get back, they are stunned to track down the children in a smashed state. Thusly, Helen fires Isabel, the main companion. Vitas had this causes him to become suddenly angry as he loses books. The racks bitterly. He additionally makes do to lock his mom out when she goes to handle a conveyance. Following this, Helen shouts her child's name from outside the entryway. However, Vitas wouldn't reply. Rather, he goes to his training table and starts playing the piano boisterously. The young man doesn't answer the entryway in any event. When it's evening and his dad has shown up from work, Leo also attempts his best to open the locked entryway, yet to no benefit. He hollers at Vitas. However, the little kid appears to be apathetic and proceeds playing the piano. The following scene unexpectedly jumps to a couple of years to come. Vitas is currently 12 years of age. He proceeds to be disappointed with his limited, also controlled life. He goes to the likeness school and doesn't get alongside either the understudies or his teachers. Given his exceptionally gifted knowledge, he scorns his educators to show his insight, making them look dumb. It frequently puts Vitas in inconvenience, yet the kid doesn't appear to mind at all. He is worn out on how he's been living for the recent years. In one such case where Helen is called in for a parent-educator meeting to examine Vitas' self-importance and exceptionally gifted nature, the class educator suggests Helen enlist her kid in a unique school. Helen realizes her child is exhausted as he isn't adequately tested with a normal secondary school educational program at age 12. However, she and Leo additionally don't have any desire to send him to one of those exceptional schools, which she calls zoological nurseries. So she doesn't take the instructor's recommendation, rather chooses for Vitas to take the school leaving tests so he can join the college. In the following scene, Helen keeps on tormenting her child by making him practice piano consistently for a really long time. That also being against Vitas to it is apparent that Vitas can't stand this errand of the day and just wishes to be typical like others as opposed to being a piano. Wonder one day Helen takes Vitas to meet an undeniably popular piano player named Gina. In any case, the gathering doesn't go according to plan. At the point when the little fellow will not play in front of Gina, offending her later while coming back home, Helen hollers at her child for not submitting to her orders and advises him that there are a great deal of children who might do anything for an open door like this, reluctant to go on with things as they are. Vitas devises a tricky plot that empowers others to see him as a typical kid as opposed to as a wonder. For this he fakes a head injury by claiming to have leaped off the gallery with his granddad's stopgap wings. Later on, at the clinic, the specialists illuminate Helen and Leo that Vitas has experienced just minor head wounds at the second, yet they can't rest assured about the harms later on. Some time later, Vitas recaptures cognizance and imagines that he has lost his memory. He even demonstrations like he's failed to remember how to play the piano, decimating his folks. Moreover, Helen is educated by the specialist that Vitas' level of intelligence has dropped from 180 to 120. In spite of the fact that his vitals are typical for somebody his age. The specialist then, at that point, suggests Helen gives an opportunity to recordings for recuperation. Thus Helen is vexed that her child is not any more a wonder, while Vitas celebrates for having the option to carry on with an ordinary way of life a long way from his folks' steady strain to be great. All the strain to perform has now disappeared, and he is allowed to be his own imaginative self. He even makes a companion his own age. Anyway, he misses playing piano, so he visits his granddad's home while the elderly person is out taking care of the errands. Vitas plays the instrument he yearned such a huge amount to play for quite a while. Presently, unbeknownst to him, his granddad finds out about the plan when the elderly person hears him play the piano. Fortunately, his granddad vows to stay quiet about it as he invests his energy at his granddad's. Vitas discovers that the old man's monetary condition is debilitating. Furthermore, Vitas' dad Leo is too going to be removed from the organization. Since his amplifier items are no longer the smash hits in the market, he has been causing misfortunes for quite a while. Presently, to assist his family with finance, Vito covertly opens a financier account under the name of Dr. Wolf and puts resources into the financial exchange. With his insight and great market examination, he gathers a fortune from it. The cash permits his granddad to buy a pilot training program in addition, as the cash procures more interest. His granddad too purchases a Pilotus P6, a solitary motor airplane he generally longed for flying one day. Unfortunately, then again, Vitas' father Leo is terminated from his organization due to the unfortunate midterm audit. One day Vitas runs into a teen at a music store, and he quickly perceives her as Isabel. Seeks after her, however, she leans towards somebody more seasoned and tragically doesn't bring his back. Warm gestures notwithstanding, they trade a self-contradicting farewell. Vitas is then, at that point, unexpectedly called to the emergency clinic, where he discovers that his granddad has been harmed. Obviously he fell when he was fixing his rooftop. However, Vitas learns the truth that his granddad really fell while attempting to fly his airplane, which he pledges to leave well enough alone from his guardians. Unfortunately, the granddad dies from the wounds, despite the fact that he figures out how to compose a letter for Helen and the family. That evening, Vitas likewise finds out about his father's condition, so he chooses to subtly help him. He recruits an insider lady from the financial exchange and makes do to purchase his dad's organization, which has been confronting misfortunes. He utilizes his false name Dr. Wolf and buys the firm with the cash that his granddad left him. Thusly, with the assistance of the insider lady, he figures out how to show that Dr. Wolf is, in all honesty, his granddad, making his dad Leo the new president of the organization. The last scene of the film shows Helen perusing the letter left by the granddad. In the wake of perusing it, she and Leo at last educated reality with regards to Vitus, that he was so brilliant he tricked everybody, including his folks instructors. And, surprisingly, the specialists the elderly person asks them not to resent Vitus, making sense of that it was a superior way for the kid to escape from the world for which he is excessively insightful. Music,